can say that this is going to be easy or fun, or no matter how much comforts you can give me a 500-foot boat with 700 scientists. You can give me billions of dollars worth of equipment. It won't change the equation. It can't. Money can't fix it, and it's not going to make it any better for me. The fact is, I have to go out there independently and document it and make sure everybody can come behind me and get the same stuff, because we have to have that debate. And without platforms like yourself to actually get out there and push, it's going to be really hard to keep the narrative where people don't panic, because I can understand that, right? So GMO, if you get rid of that as a sign of good faith, I think we can almost look at our governments in the eye again for a while. And if they were to bring and give everybody in every community in their mailboxes organic seeds and tell no more pesticides, there's not enough insects left to kill anymore, and that we have to stop and try to repair something. We could take 4,300 peer-reviewed academic studies that are published every day and put them to task on every little issue each day. Another 4,300 universities and professors and their students and their monitoring, their expendables, all ready to go. If we had a meteorite coming at our planet, that's what we would do.
Right.
Yet we haven't reached that stage where the awareness is, we normally wouldn't have some of these simple signs of good faith, acts of good faith, like all the institutions getting to work. If the government come out and said, we got a big problem, the ocean is dying, we're going to put every institution in our country to work this out. Would that make you feel good, Linda?
No.
At least you're honest.
I mean, I know what you're doing is a great thing, but I feel like the government, whether it's my government, your government, I mean, that was my next question. Why aren't they speaking about this? I think what you're doing is fantastic, and we absolutely need more people like you to do this, to speak up, to go on these expeditions, to prove to others what is going on. Why aren't they speaking out about this?
Because the whole culture is designed around it. You know that a banana has nothing to do with radiation. We get all the experts in the media tell us that. And so they don't call them out, they don't correct them, they don't go out and research it and find out it's homeostasis, which means it's harmless. It means your body couldn't hold any more normal banana potassium-40. But every single time you come in contact with a man-made ionized radiated element, particle, atoms, it sequesters in your body forever. And it causes these tumors, and different types of radioactive material causes different types of tumor and autoimmune deficiencies. And so what the plan was, of course, is they fleece everybody, they fill up the shelves with the GMO, and that makes everybody lethargic and makes everybody feel not good. Of course, when you eat organic, you feel really good. You want to take your pet for a walk, you want to do your dishes.
Oh, yes,
absolutely. Yeah, you feel like you're really something. So the government has nothing to gain by empowering our bodies, and as such would empower our mind, and everything to gain by making us subservient and making us, once again, lethargic, where we don't have what it takes to stand up and recognize what's going on. They don't even have it because they're eating the same thing, right? And so the system is designed that way to have the dumber holding on to the population that are unwillingly indoctrinated from the day they were born, that a banana somehow is equated to E equals MC squared.
Right.
Right. And so that's why the system, it can't live because everything becomes a lie when you tell the truth. Their whole history becomes one big lie. All those lies, they covered up, gets exposed. Their children can't look them in the eye. They can't look anybody in the eye. And so you lose all trust. And if you lose that, of course, in society, in this day and age, then what could possibly... when you tax everybody all the time to the point where there's nothing left, and you have to do that to keep the government alive, then it's supposed to be a revolution. And so rather than a revolution, they're having an extermination. They're allowing it to happen. Because they understand what a radioactive element is. They told us it's a banana. They told us like walking in the sunshine. They told us like getting on an airplane. And these are nothing to do with it. And so they can't come out and tell the truth because they have no future, period. They have no pensions. They have no way of making a living, and no one will like them anymore. And when they find out, of course, now the ocean is dead, they can't hide it anymore. So they're hanging on in the hopes we won't notice. They're hanging on in the hopes that we can't work that out. And they're hanging on in the hopes of saying that it doesn't exist. They couldn't make it here. that the jet streams didn't exist, and that the Kuroshio currents are not real. And they live in this little tiny fantasy paradigm where people actually fall for it, because most people don't have anybody to look up to. Most people don't have anybody to admire in their personal life, because they all been indoctrinated through the same machine that is about to end in 60 days. The system is going to crumble in 60 days. And our way forward is to recognize that and to try to come up with solutions rather than their solution, obviously, because they're the ones who lied, the academics, the professors, the scientists. They were the ones who come out and told us it was like a banana, but yet they had the education to know better. And our media had the education to go flush that out and say, no, banana got nothing to do with it, but they didn't. See? And so they normalized everything. Go ahead.
Something is going on, because in the state of California, and this was a survey and a poll that was just recently taken, and I don't have the direct figures, but it had stated that all the newborns that are born right now, from the beginning of 2014 of January to now, have had a 50% increase in thyroid problems. These are babies. So,
that's because, go ahead, hang on one second, I want to remind you that the radioactive iodine 131, 132, 133, and now the 129 we find out was 30 times more than 131. That's got a 15 million year half-life, sequesters in women's breasts. And so when the baby, of course, is being breastfed, it's getting major doses. Yeah, that's what's going on. And it was discovered that almost all breast cancers, by accident, they discovered it, was because of ionized radiated elements, not because of anything in nature, see? And so man-made ionized radiation released from wars, from dumping in oceans and everything else, that's the effect of breast cancer, folks.
Now, folks, if you want to call in instead of asking any questions in the chat, the number is 1-607-441-6233. Once again, that's 1-607-441-6233. If you want to call in and ask Dana any questions, that's fine. Do not be shy. There are no stupid questions.
Thank you.
So, I think my audience is just intrigued by what you're saying, and they're all very quiet and just want to listen. But
yeah, you can go ahead and ask, because you know me, I'll keep talking if you don't.
That's okay. I don't mind if you keep talking. What do we do about this as not just as an American, as a Canadian, as a people in general? What do we do about this problem?
It's a brilliant question, by the way. I'm so glad you asked it. Well, what we got to do is we got to take away their narrative, like the bananas and walking in the sunshine and flying on airplanes and x-rays and dental x-rays and chest x-rays. These are all just, every time, when you ingest a radioactive particle, you're getting a chest x-ray every moment of your life, if not several, depending on the particle. The particle can put out many becquerels a second, and a becquerel is a disintegration. But a becquerel is also powerful enough to flip over a grain of sand. And so that's why your body, when you ingest it, your body is attacking it. So what you got to do, first off, is once again, you got to get rid of the GMO, and you got to get organic. You got to get it all out of your, because what GMO does to you is, and everybody else, of course, is it makes you vulnerable. It's got glyphosates and formaldehyde in it. These are carcinogenics into the DNA. This doesn't exist in normal food. And so they took out most of the parts per million of potassium, magnesium, calcium, and they took it in such a great quantity that you can't call it food anymore. In other words, there was 6,000 parts per million of calcium in corn. They engineered it out to 114 parts per million. There was around 3,800 parts per million of potassium. They engineered it down to about 112 parts per million. So it completely took away the nutritional value of it, to the point where you need 428 corn on the cob of GMO to equal the same amount of calcium as a single organic corn on the cob. And so you're leaving yourself vulnerable. And so as a society, we need to get rid of the GMO and bring in the organic. And what the organic does, it helps unplate your blood. There's a few other ways around this, is structured water. Now, structured water is going to sound a little odd to folks, I know, but you've got to realize the world is truly magical. Now, it's been done in experiments that if you talk to water that you got from your sink, like you talk to a plant, if you talk to it, you can change the structure of the water back. And it's been shown in universities and institutions that when people dying of terminal diseases were given structured water, that their blood unplated. And what that is unbelievable, see? That your blood, that's how blood, your blood cells are unplated naturally. But when they get sick and you're old and feeble and you have these autoimmune deficiencies and cancers and everything, the blood plates up. And that's ultimately what is killing you and will kill you, certainly. And that's what chemotherapy does to you, too. It plates up your blood. And so you only got 2% of survival with leukemia. It's the stupidest thing imaginable. It's murder. But if you took structured water, and and we see it in samples where they gave people, took a sample of their arm, put it under the microscope, it was all plated up, gave them structured water, and then 20 minutes later took another sample of their arm, and it was all starting on plate. It was unbelievable.
Now, what is structured water exactly?
Well, structured water is just natural water,
Okay.
and it came from a mountain spring, right? It's like your dad was a native Canadian. My son's native Canadian. But they understand water from wells really well. I mean, that's something really popular here, where you get to know them and you go find out where to get some good water. For most people, that would be the best thing you can do, is get well water, river water, structured water, but you don't want anything from a tap. You don't want anything that went through an electric motor. You don't want anything that had salts or chemicals added to it, and because that changes the structure of the water. And so the most important thing is also DCA. Now, DCA has been shown to reduce all tumors, breast, pituitary glands, brain cancer, lung cancers, breast cancers, reduce the tumors by 70% in 2 weeks. Because what it does is it unplates your blood. And you can go to a local pharmacy and ask if they have a compound chemist. And if they got a compound chemist, they can make the DCA there. It's a benign chemical. You don't need a prescription. There's no patent on it. And it has been proven in repeated studies to have the same properties in the other studies, where it reduced tumors by 70%. And so you can live a lot longer. But none of this really matters unless we stop Fukashima. And none of it matters unless we clean up what we got on the planet and try that. Because that's the only way we can even start to try, is we have to, every population out there has to go to work and clean it all up, just to stop it from constantly hemorrhaging into our environment. Hanford has 41 miles of unlined trenches that they dump the yellow cake from the plutonium production, and it's unlined and it's not buried. They also dump 450 billion gallons directly into the soil in the 50s and 60s of the nuclear waste. Now, they done that in the Techa River in Russia in the late 40s. They were dumping that same stuff into the river. They evacuated 7,500 communities and 9,000 square miles. Right, that's how rotten that stuff is. Now, we have it not only in Afghanistan, where there's 5 million orphans, where there's nothing but depleted uranium. It was unimaginable what they've done in that place, and Iraq. So we got to take up 6 inches of topsoil in both of those countries. We have to take up. Japan is destroyed forever. The coastlines are destroyed in the Pacific Rim by the looks of things. I hate to say that it is, but I'm getting reports from all over the island of Vancouver Island of people having finding the same stuff as I found, the same species as we've already found. And so a lot of people want to go into the oil and say they've seen a crow, or they've seen an eagle, or they've seen some fish. Well, they're further up the food chain, but as everything else dies off, they got nothing to feed on, only potato chips and french fries and stuff like that. So you see them hanging around for a bit, well, those bigger species, but the fish will all have to die off really soon. And that is what we're worried about. At that point, the planet might panic. And so if we can get up there, and we will, and we'll go along that coastline for 60 days, and we're loading it up on the site. I think within 2 weeks, every nuclear scientist on the planet is going to be buying those Marcho Grouches glasses with the mustache. And you know what I mean? They won't be able to look their kids in the eyes, because they won't be able to look their children in the eyes. So that's their sanctuary, is being able to go home, see? And we're going to take that away from them, deservingly and pathetically, because they had the opportunity. And what we done was we sent the homeless into Fukashima to do the most dangerous, difficult, the most courageous job on the planet, and they don't even have a clue what they're doing. Most of them can't read or write. Most of them are alcoholics, and just sort of having all kinds of access